That's right. You heard the whistle, and it must be that time again. It is another year, 2018, and it's a new year for football because the playoffs are right around the corner. And who is here to break it down with me? None other than my good friend. He is the man, the myth, the legend behind the Fantasy Football Pay Dirt podcast. He is back off the injured list, kind of. He's still going to gut it out.
Put me in, coach.
Yes, they had to shoot him up with Novocaine, but he's ready to play. He's going to try and get it out for a week right here because the playoffs are right here, and it's just this is for all the marbles. It's coming down to it. We've got the best teams now. There's no more filler. There's no more running out the clock, running out the season, or anything of that nature.
You play for this is why these guys work all year long to get to the playoffs, and we finally get to see it this weekend.
Indeed we do. And here to break it down is, like I said, he is the man behind the Fantasy Football Pay Dirt podcast. It's Tyler Baker. Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year. We made it, 2018. How are you, my friend?
A year older, and I don't feel a year wiser, but oh well. 1 out of 2 ain't bad.
Debatable. It's debatable.
I still got a heartbeat, so I guess that's good. Hold on.
There it is. Here. There's that pulse.
I guess if it's a little slow, is that to be concerned? Oh well.
It's cold out. You can.
There you go. Okay. Fair enough. But it's another great week coming up in the NFL because it's playoff time. I want to point to first some of those NFC matchups because those are some heavy duty NFC matchups there. You've got Carolina at New Orleans, and you also got Atlanta, last year's Super Bowl runner-up, heading off into LA against the LA Rams. So I'll start off with the NFC. How does it look for you? Break it down because those are two extremely competitive matchups.
Those are going to be two really good games. It's kind of funny. The AFC this year is top heavy. The first two teams are really good. The rest of them, yeah. The NFC, it seems like all of the teams that made it, all of them are good. So we are going to see the Atlanta Falcons going to meet the LA Rams. LA has scored an average of 29.9 points per game this year. That's the best in the NFL. And they're going up against an Atlanta offense that last year maybe had those stats. This year they've fallen off a little bit. But 3 teams in the NFC South made it to the playoffs. All of those teams are good. All of them can have a better week than your team. So it's going to be a very exciting weekend of football. As far as Atlanta and the Rams, if I'm picking a favorite, it's got to be the Rams. I'm sorry. They've just looked too good this year. The coaching duo of Sean McVay and Wade Phillips has done wonders in Los Angeles, turned this franchise around. If I have a favorite in the NFC, that's probably one of my favorites.
Well, I'll tell you right now, the NFC does not have any slackers. Any one of these teams can make it all the way to the Super Bowl and actually even win the Super Bowl against anybody you put up against, even in New England. I think they give any one of those teams can give New England, or if you want to put Pittsburgh in there as well, a run for their money in the Super Bowl. So definitely that's something to look forward to indeed. I'm going to have to agree with you on LA. I think because it is in LA, I think that they're going to go ahead and at least give that. They got that excitement of being back in the playoffs, and I think they're going to carry that through to a win over the Falcons. Although I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons paid off as well. So I think in that other game, though, that's really going to be a barn burner, and I'm picking Carolina to upset.
Really?
But it's going to be close. I think it's going to be like a 35-31, really just last 2 minute drive tussle. I think Cam Newton, this is what you pay him for. This is the time when he really shines. I think even though you've got Drew Brees there, he's taken the team to the promised land before. So has Cam. I just
there are some very experienced quarterbacks, with the exception of the Rams, leading the NFC charge this weekend. It's interesting you pick Carolina because New Orleans swept Carolina this season.
And I
And
think it's really hard to beat 3 times in a row.
sure. Hey, I'm not gonna fault you for that. And when you have a divisional opponent, man, sometimes it's just the way the ball bounces, or taking advantage of that one mistake that your opponent makes. These two teams, they know each other well. They play them at least twice a year. That's going to be a chess match between Rivera and um, wow,
Sean Payton?
yeah, Sean Payton. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a true chess match. And yeah, these NFC games are going to be great. The AFC ones, I mean, you have Tennessee at Kansas City, Buffalo at Jacksonville. You could make the point that none of those teams should even be in the playoffs, and I wouldn't argue too much with you.
Well, when it concerns the AFC, like you said, you have 4 teams that are really, at one point in time in the season or another, did not look good. I understand Buffalo; they're ecstatic about getting back into the playoffs for the first time in
And good for
numerous
them.
years.
Yeah.
Numerous years, and good for them indeed. Tyrod Taylor, who you and I both actually kind of liked as a quarterback, as far as a fantasy option, and he's going to be, I think, a pretty good commodity when he goes into the free agent market. As I think he's going to be very wanted out there because he's a low risk, low turnover.
Yeah.
Not exactly explosive, but he can still run. He's not explosive with the arm, but then again, like I said, he's safe as far as and very intelligent with his passes. Then you have excuse me. And then you have Kansas City, which Kansas City are you getting? Are you getting the Kansas City that did so well and was the best team in the NFL the first 6 weeks of the season, or are you getting the middle that one that just laid a turd every week?
Or do you get the late season, won the last 4 games of the season Chiefs? Who are you getting? You're right. It's nerve-wracking.
It is nerve-wracking. So you never know what you're going to get with Kansas City. So that's why if they're riding the end of the season on a nice wave, so that momentum could take them there over Tennessee. Tennessee, I just don't have much faith in. Marcus Mariota, he's just been all over the place.
Yeah.
I really am they should be just thankful that they're there because they've really had kind of just an up and down season. They have not looked like a premier team in the NFL. Jacksonville seems like, to me, of the 4 teams, that seems like the most solid bet because that defense, even though Blake Bortles is not the man a lot of people will still stand behind as a quarterback because he's just been so inconsistent, that defense, if it comes up to the plate like it has all season, they could really ride that. And they don't need Bortles to really do a whole lot. Just be effective and play winning football and don't make mistakes. And that defense could ride them in all the way to maybe even the championship game.
Sure. In my opinion, Jacksonville is a little bit of an incomplete team because of Blake Bortles. When Blake Bortles doesn't turn the ball over, they win. But when they ask Blake Bortles to do things and he starts throwing interceptions, it just all goes downhill. That's what makes this matchup this weekend a little intriguing. You have Tyrod Taylor, who doesn't give the ball away, could be effective against that Jacksonville team. But unfortunately, LaShawn McCoy was hurt last week. It's still kind of up in the air whether he's going to play. If he can even walk, they're going to put him in there because that team's not much without LaShawn McCoy. But if he can play, and if Tyrod Taylor can do what he does so well and move the ball and not turn the ball over, it's not going to give that Jacksonville defense a lot to grab onto. When that defense is turning the ball over, getting turnovers, and taking opportunities away from opposing offenses, Jacksonville does well because they do have a great running back there. So there's, Buffalo has a chance, but I think you're right. That defense is so stout. And as long as they don't have to put Blake Bortles in a situation where it's up to him, they're going to be okay. And against a Buffalo team that's probably going to be without LaShawn McCoy, I think you're going to see Jacksonville in the next round of the playoffs. And you talked about Kansas City and Tennessee. I 100% agree with you. I don't think Tennessee belongs in the playoffs. I don't think that they were that good, and they didn't even have a stretch during the season where they looked like everything was firing. They managed to win games, but they didn't look very good doing it. They only won one of their last 4 games, and that was the season finale that got them into the playoffs. So they are barely limping into the playoffs, going up against a Kansas City team that, you're right, are they good? Are they bad? Well, right now they're good. They lost. They have won their last 4 games, so they're on a little bit of a high right now, going up against a limping Tennessee team. I think Kansas City moves into the next round as well.
And the thing is, since it's being played in Jacksonville, when it concerns Buffalo and Jacksonville, you think, oh, weather's not going to be an issue even at this time of year.
Whoa.
Hold on there. It might actually be more in Buffalo's favor because it is unseasonably cold in the Southeast at this time of the year.
That is a very, very good point. And weather does affect the game of football. When you get into temperatures that are hovering in like the high 30s, low 40s, but mostly high 30s, the ball just acts differently. It's difficult to grip the ball. It's difficult to throw the ball. It's difficult to catch the ball. Your fingers get numb. They get cold. So you see teams that want to run the ball more. So definitely keep an eye on the temperatures. And if they start getting into the 30s, you can expect to see a lot of running.
Definitely, indeed. Once again, it is Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pater podcast. You know what? If you really want to go ahead and check out something great when it concerns maybe some strategies you want to employ maybe next year, or maybe, when you plan out for your draft coming up in the next few months, you want to go ahead and check out the past episodes of the Fantasy Football Pater podcast and see just how, or actually hear just how Tyler Baker broke down each and every week, and so that basically if you subscribe and you start listening to his shows now, when he starts doing new episodes later in the fall, you'll be able to get a better idea exactly what he's thinking and be able to make the best decisions possible leading your fantasy football team next year. Because if you came up on the short end like I did, you want to make sure you get as much advanced scouting as possible, and Fantasy Football Pater podcast is definitely the place to go. And you can always join our Facebook group and always ask their questions as well. Fantasy Football Pater podcast. I'm sure they're going to be keeping it lively during the course of the playoff season as well.
Yeah, football season never ends.
Yes,
season never ends. We're already looking at some of the coordinator and coaching positions and seeing who's out there and whose system is going to do well with what team. So football is year round.
And with Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold, making themselves available for the draft, probably something I wouldn't have recommended for Sam Darnold as of yet, especially because I'm a Trojan fan. But that. But
he's going to get picked high.
You chase the money. You chase the money. What can you do?
Yeah.
When it comes to stuff like that, you're going to be breaking it down during the course of the weeks leading up to fantasy drafts. So you definitely want to check that out. And in the coming months, and also the back episodes as well, Fantasy Football Pater podcast, indeed. Well, my friend, it's going to be a great weekend in the NFL. It's playoff time, man. I tell you. All the marbles, man. It's for all the marbles. And I'll tell you what, it's definitely very, very serious. And especially in the NFC, it looks like some great matchups this weekend.
Look, man, any given Sunday, these guys work all year long. They work out in the off season. They practice and play hard all year just to get to this point. And you give that type of motivation, any one of these teams, hey, Buffalo could win it all. And I'm not trying to be cute. These guys, this is what they do. They work all year, and here they are in the opportunity. It's one game at a time. It's one game at a time, and it's so exciting that we're going to be able to watch some of those games this weekend and find out who's going to make it to the divisional round.
And definitely, we're going to be covering it all for you this weekend in the NFL. Tyler, it's been another great time with you, breaking down all the games right here this weekend in the NFL playoffs. And I look forward to talking to you real soon once that NFL playoff bracket becomes just a little bit clearer.
Yeah, it's exciting. So yeah, I'll talk to you next show and see where we're at.
Definitely, it's always great having you part
Yes, sir.
of the, well, of the. My printer's got to talk. Just wanted to say it. Just wanted to say it. Oh, hold on. Cycling. Life's funny moments right here.
Right.
All right, there you go. Of the pop culture cosmos.